for my audience, before we even like really get into these questions, I want you to tell us who you are, even though I know very well who you are, but who you are, and what you do and how people should know you.
Well, my name is Tyomi Morgan, and I go by Glamazon Tyomi on social media. And I am an intimacy and pleasure coach. I'm the founder of the Cowgirl Workout, the only somatic movement healing fitness program that is designed to assist women in improving their intimate movement. And I've been in the game for about 12 years. I started my blog, glamoratica101.com, in 2011, along with its adjoining YouTube channel. And on that YouTube channel, I teach people how to get into sex positions. I also teach like what I consider to be the tangibles of sex. So like the how-to stuff, how to interact with the person's body, energy, spirit, in order to have more pleasurable sex. And I've toured the world teaching, not only physically, but of course, I'm internationally known because of my YouTube channel and because of my social media presence and reach. And I always say I'm here for Black women unapologetically. And I'm here for anyone that resonates with my voice, no matter what their complexion is, no matter what their ethnicity is. But women are my core demographic. I love empowering women to be the best versions of themselves, not just sexually, but just in general, because what I've noticed in my work is that when women feel sexually empowered and they are empowered to flex their sexual autonomy, it opens up so many other areas of their lives that they didn't even know were being impacted by the blockages or the trauma that's blocking them from experiencing great amounts of pleasure. So I'm happy to be talking to you today. I'm happy to be talking to your audience today. And I feel like 12 years in the game and I'm still going. It feels like the beginning. And I've also shifted into film and television as an intimacy coordinator. I also just recently got my degree in digital filmmaking from the Los Angeles Film School. So I'm moving into the space of producing my own content. Eventually, I will launch my own over-the-top streaming network, where I will be streaming sexual health and like sex positive content that features Black people. So there's a lot of things that are coming down the pipeline.
And we just thank you for that, because I'm going to tell you, as someone who loves research, I have been researching women who are doing your work, right? Who are out there, who are sexologists, who are teaching women about their bodies and how to move their bodies and how to, I think that sexuality and our sexual, just our sexual nature is left out of the self-love conversation and really caring for ourselves. And it's like this separate thing. I've been to tons of conferences just this year, and it's always left out. And I'm so confused by that, because I just like you said, once you feel beautiful and you feel like centered within yourself, that's powerful, right? Once you feel like you own your body and this is mine, and you're able to create those boundaries and you know what you like and you don't like, I feel like you could take over the world. And like, I feel like that's my last hoop. That's my last thing I have to I'm working through in order to be the best version of myself, is really loving myself. So I'm taking this year, not dating, not being in an intimate relationship, and learning how to be intimate with myself and love on myself. Right. So that's so important. And I'm finding that is very important after, like, nobody told me this. I'm 38 years old now. Nobody ever told me this. And now I'm 38. I'm like, Dad, this is really important. Why didn't anybody mention this to me? Why didn't no one tell me that, my sexuality means so much and is really important, instead of shun, like, oh, you shouldn't talk about that. Oh, that's too much, or being embarrassed about just showing my body or showing who I am, right? So another thing I want to get into is, like, how did you get into this? Because I know for myself, I was just talking to my friend about going back to school to become a sexologist. That's like my one thing I want to do. And I want to help women, like you said, empower women through that. And I want to know more about how you even came up with this. You know, you didn't start off out the womb like, oh, I'm about to be a sexologist. This is my goal. You know, I want to know more about that journey.
Yeah, so I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I always knew that I wanted to make money on the internet. And so before I got into this work, I was a freelance writer and a freelance model. And so when things kind of took a shift in my modeling career, I was encouraged to start a blog. And so I was like, well, what can I blog about often that I have a passion for and know a lot about? And I was like, oh, sex. And so I started doing research. So before I go into any field, I always do research just to see who's in it, what's out there. And in 2009, 2010, it does the landscape of this field did not look like what it looks like now. And so at the time, I didn't see a lot of Black experts who had like a prominent voice or any of that. And I noticed that a lot of the platforms were like very, very whitewashed, very white facing, and speaking to a white audience. And I was like, I don't see anyone talking to a brown girl like myself, and I don't see brown women that look like me. I don't mean like, you know, fair skin, I mean brown. I was like, I don't see brown women talking to me. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to complain about it because I'm a solutions-based person. So I was like, let me just jump in here and just start a blog. And so I started my blog, glamourodica101.com, in September of 2011, and its YouTube channel, and it just took off from there. And I started it with like basically no money. And I started my YouTube channel with a flip camera and, you know, and a tripod from Target, and went with God, you know, and just didn't have any knowledge on, you know, any deep knowledge on like production or anything like that. But I had Windows Movie Maker, and I just did the thing because I knew that there were people who were waiting to hear my voice. And then it just took off. And my intention wasn't to be like world famous or anything like that. My intention was to be impactful. My intention was to get the word out there and to impact women who looked like me. And it literally turned into this huge brand. And of course, it made me into like this international quote unquote superstar. People describe me as that.
You are that. Girl, you are that.
I get used to like saying that for myself because I just be like, I'm just a regular schmegular person. I'm like, no, you're not, girl. You're not at all.
You're not.
I don't know anybody who could go to Nigeria just walking in the street. People are like, Lemazon Tyomi. I'm like, damn, that's crazy.
You are not. You are a celebrity. You are it. Because I'll tell you, when I was going through the internet, for like really going through and doing my research, and I came across your videos, I came across you on TikTok, right? I looked on TikTok.
So I have a page on TikTok, but I have not yet put my work up on TikTok. So that's crazy.
Yeah, I seen you on TikTok, and I was like, who is this? I was like, okay, let me start doing my research a little bit more. And I was like, wow, there's someone doing exactly what's in my brain. Someone who's actually doing it. This is so beautiful. She's putting the message out. And for me, I know a lot of your content is about heterosexual men, but I'm a lesbian, but it was still so empowering to see that because I could use a lot of the stuff that you were saying in my relationships too. So it spoke to me, it spoke to my friends, no matter where we were at, it spoke to us because it wasn't just about riding, it was about loving and loving yourself and loving your partner and loving. So it was so much more. And I think a lot of people who first knew you, they were like, oh, she teaches people how to ride. Like that was the whole thing. But when you really started researching you and looking at what you actually stood for, it was so much deeper than that. And that's why I think that's why you're a celebrity. It's so much more than just those videos. It's your personality, the way that you explained it. And I listened to a video that you did on YouTube. It was from, I think, the Washington Post. You did a clip, right? And this clip was like, that's what, like, I was like, yeah, that's it. So people who, and you didn't even talk about, you know, your workout really in that too much. And that clip was you. That's the reason why people are so in love with you. All those people are so in love with you is that clip, you know? So make sure you wear that crown right, girl. Like that's you. And the first thing you said on there is like, you was like, you love to twerk. I was like, how many sexologists do you see that's like, oh, I love to twerk. Oh, it's talking really to brown girls. None of them.
I
None of
love
them, girl.
twerking. Like when Megan Thee Stallion came out, I was like, oh, I feel seen because she's a stallion just like me. We're the same height. She's thick and she like shaking her ass. I was like, yes. And what's funny is, I don't know if you've seen this, but like there are a lot of like white women who, you know, they've appropriated its work. I'm just going to say it. They've appropriated its work. And then they come out with these podcasts and they're talking about how like shaking your hips and doing all this like unearths, you know, trauma, which is true, you know, but I'm like, you know, our ancestors have been doing this for years. And what's interesting is that like we get shamed for doing this stuff. And that's why I always tell my clients, like, look, move your hips and you're going to move a lot of things in your life. You don't understand, like your pelvis is the seat of creation. It's where your root chakra is, your creative energy is there. And if you're having issues, it's because that energy is stagnant. So get moving. Just 20 minutes a day is all you need. And so like, you know, one thing that I have a really good gift for is being able to present information in a way that's palatable, right? And that's why I jumped in the game, because I was like, man, all this stuffy ass, like, I don't want all this like stuffy ass shit being told to me. And I also don't want, like, I can speak, you know, in medical terms and all that, blah, 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 but that's boring. The average person doesn't want to feel like the person they're getting their sex advice from is like a professor or a medical doctor, because they feel too clinical and cold. I've always said I want to be warm. I want to feel like a person's like big sister or best friend, or like, you know, the woman next door that I could just go kick it with. And that's why a lot of people really resonate with my work, because they're like, she's like the homie. And then when they see me in real life, they meet me in real life, it's the same energy. And they're just like,
Yeah.
look. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate that you did your research, because I have so much stuff out there, so many podcasts, so many interviews, so many like collaborations with like publications. I'm quoted in so many places. And that Washington Post one it meant a lot to me, because number one, it's the Washington Post. Number two, I loved what they were doing. They took like 7 influencers and they had us tell a really personal story. And that was the first time I was able to be that vulnerable in a very major way, because people had never really heard my story and the journey with my body. Like, I'm this confident person now, but confidence is an everyday job, first and foremost. And secondly, I didn't start this way. You know, I started out as a girl that was bigger than all of her peers, started puberty early, had to cloak my body for most of my life to prevent predators from coming at me. And so it took some time to get here. And I think that that's so empowering to tell, because other women who have a similar story to me, they need to see that. They need to see what's possible. They need to see that even if you're still like cloaking yourself and hiding and like standing with your shoulders rounded and like slouching right now, that there is somebody who used to do the same thing and look at where she's at now because she stepped in and did the work. It's possible. And it doesn't matter at what age you come to that point where you're like, I'm tired of living this way. I want to be free. Once you make that decision, especially if you come into my life or you come across my content, that means that you want to see major change and you want to see it quickly, because I'm a catalyst and I'm an alchemist. So I always say, if you come across my doorstep, it's because you're ready for major change and you're ready for it right now. And I'm the person where I'm like, I'm gonna be 10 toes in it with you. And we're gonna go through the fire, and that fire is gonna be a purification process. And we're gonna laugh, we're gonna cry, we're gonna do all the things. But on the other side of that, it's gonna be a new you. It's gonna be the person that you dreamt of, and it's gonna be a person you get to journey with for the rest of your life. And I think as Black women, it's like we don't have the luxury of being told that it is important to focus on our sexual health and our sex lives, even though sexual health impacts us so differently than everyone else. We see the statistics and stuff. They're still not speaking to us. And so this is why the work that I do, I'm so passionate about it, because I'm like, I know that it could literally mean life or death for a woman that looks like me. It really could. And if me just showing up and just living my life and being me and passing on information in a casual but yet clear and concise way, if that's going to impact someone's life to where it can save their life, then I'm doing my job. And all the other stuff that comes along with it is a gift, like, financial stability, because people are showing me appreciation by investing in the things that I'm putting out there. All of that stuff is a gift. And so I just love what I do. And like, I just appreciate you too for like having the discernment to be able to say like, okay, this is like speaking to heteronormative couples, but the principles of it can apply to me and anyone. And, since I first started, I've actually like come out, I'm a pansexual. So in my work, now, like going forward, I say it's gonna be a 2.0 version on YouTube, but it's gonna be more like inclusive of, and I might still use like male models, whatever, but the language, it's gonna be more inclusive because that's where I'm at in my journey. And so my work evolves as I evolve too. And I just think it's a beautiful thing. So
I say that all the time. I say my business is a reflection of my self-love journey, right? It's that way. So every move that I change, everything that I change about my business or moves that I'm making is selfishly about me, but I'm helping other people. So that's how I'm able to do more stuff. But it's about me. So when I sat down, I said I have to figure this out myself. So I did. And I'll tell you, Tommy, you're, like I said before, you're like my big sister, because whenever I start, I don't have any sisters, right? And I started, I said, oh my God, my friends were like, I told them that I had this interview today and I've been talking about it. They're like, oh, like I was like, you don't understand. Every second I'm like telling them about you. I'm like, you have to watch this video. You guys don't even know. And I'm not telling any of my, I haven't told anyone that I'm interviewing you, because I don't want anyone to know until your stuff comes out, until I actually release your podcast. So I haven't told anyone. So I've just been like, I'll give you a clue. She's really famous. I'll give you a clue. You know who she is. You give her a clue. And every once in a while I'll post stuff on my Facebook and stuff. And I'm just like, I want to tell them so bad that she's actually talking to me, and that we can have this conversation. I will say, when you started your self-love journey, or in that video, the Washington Post, it talked about you really starting your self-love journey. And the one thing that stood out for me, and when I look at your pictures, is your boudoir and your modeling. I don't think that you talked about that so much, or I don't think people really know that, the big about you modeling and your pictures and everything. And I'll tell you personally, I get so nervous. Like I put a picture out a couple weeks ago with me in lingerie, and I was super nervous about what people were going to think. I was like, they're going to judge me. People aren't going to buy my product. They're not going to like me. But then when I go down my Instagram, all those pictures that I am sexy, unapologetically showing who I am. And I'm not showing everything, it's like you said in that post, you're like covering up. It's classy. It's not, raunchy. People are liking those images more than anything. They're liking those on purpose images. And I'm just like, there's so much shame in myself about it. How did you, and you spoke about it a little bit on the Washington Post, clip, but how did you get over that? How did you learn that? Because that's powerful. When you start loving your pictures and loving those images and you see those, it's power. So how did you get past that shame, or not that shame, but that anxiety,
oh my gosh, it was a journey, and it took some time, because like when I first started modeling, I was just doing like beauty and commercial stuff, and people were really rocking with it, giving me likes and stuff on Facebook. And then I'll never forget the very first time I did some sexy photos. It was with a photographer that I worked with from Gary, Indiana. So I'm from Chicago, born and raised. And so Gary is like right next door. So I met this guy at the event or something, and we started working together. And I did my first like hotel shoot, right? And it was implied, it wasn't even nude. Like I had on underwear, but I was topless, but nothing was showing. It was me like laying in the bed with like a pillow in front of me. And I also remember like I did a lingerie shoot like by a car or something. And I'll never forget when I first put those pictures up, yo. People had so much to say. They were just, there were people that were liking it, but then there were people that were just like, oh, you're going this route, la la la, like just kind of like trying to shame me for it. But it was the people behind the scenes who know me and love me that were just like empowering me, and they were like, this is beautiful. But then when I looked at it myself, I was like, I don't care what anybody says. This is sexy. This is hot. I love this. And then I'll never forget when I shot nude for the very first time. I was in New York City and I was working in the Village. I was heading to a photo shoot that a photographer that I knew was doing. And he was a photographer that was like shooting all the it girls at the time for like King magazine and Smooth and like all of the vixens, right? So I was like geeked because like I grew up watching these vixens on like music videos.
I lost my mind.
I always wanted to be one, but I was a good Christian girl. So in my adult life, I was like, I'm gonna do what I want. And so I remember walking past this magazine store and I saw the cover of Love magazine and Naomi Campbell was on the front and she was nude and she like, her body was stretched out. She had on Louboutin shoes and she had this stocking that she had stretched over her head. And I was like, this is sexy. And it was the last one left with her on the cover. So I bought it. And then when I went to the photo shoot, I told the photographer, I was like, I want to do this. I want to recreate this shoot. Right. And so got my first Brazilian wax. And then I had a woman who was like kind of like one of his friends, but like a photographer's assistant. She came and she sat with me and made sure that I felt safe during the shoot and we shot it. And then he sent me the edits, right? And they were beautiful, but I sat on those pictures for like a whole year and I'll never forget. And this man was like pivotal. He was like, what is the point in creating art if the world's not going to see it? And I was like, damn. All right. And so, because I've been a member of Twitter since 2008, y'all. So at the time, this was like when Twitter was like super duper duper popular because it was like the early days. And so I remember I dropped the picture on my Twitter and then I closed Twitter and I ran. And I ran. And my heart was beating so fast. I was just like, oh my God. And then I went back to Twitter. It had all these retweets and all these likes and people were just like praising it. And so then I put out another one from the series. And then I eventually created a Model Mayhem page where it was just for my nude work. And I started doing nude modeling for schools and for private art groups around the Chicagoland area. And then I just started like going full throttle into boudoir because some people know this, but I share it that I did America's Next Top Model in 2010. And like after I didn't make it into the house fully, I mean, I made TV time and it was great or whatever, but it was my goal to be like a fashion model. And so when I felt like that goal or that dream was like thwarted, I just went into modeling where I was accepted, which was like lingerie, boudoir, vixen modeling, right? But doing it my way. And so over time, my confidence just grew because when you model nude, there is nothing holding you back. Like, even if your hair is long, your hair is not hiding your body. There's no clothes hiding you. And especially if you're not doing implied, where you're using props and stuff to hide your parts, when it's just full nude, you can't hide. And then I learned that I have what's called a classic body. So like the bodies from like the 1960s, 70s, which, I got like high set hips and like a high booty and just like curvy, thick, woman. And I was just like, wow, okay. And so literally just over time with me practicing and just being in front of the camera and seeing my image reflected back to me and then just seeing how my image impacted other people, the confidence just grew to where I'm at now. And also I would say that dance helped me as well. So prior to even modeling, like in high school, I was on the orchesis team and we used to like, choreograph dances and do dances for our school and like our loved ones every year. And I had to get comfortable with like being naked around my fellow dancers and just like changing and stuff because we have to change quick. And also like exposing myself on stage in movement, in like sometimes very intimate movement. And so it was that, and then combined with modeling when I got older and I was able to actually make decisions for myself, that really just helped me to step into my body as an adult, because my body, like I didn't have control over how my body presented when I was younger, because my mom was the one that made those decisions. And I'll never forget, like when I moved to New York City for the first time out of high school, I would always be like, well, my mom, my mom, my mom. And then they're like, grown though. So what you gonna do? I was like, damn. And so I had to step into that. And I will say, like, when I first started doing the kind of modeling, my mom wasn't happy about it, but I boldly was like, I don't care, and eventually she just had to accept it. And so it takes practice. And that's what I want people to understand, is that you're not going to wake up one day and just feel confident and then that's it. It literally takes practice. You have to practice putting on the clothes that you want to wear, but you don't feel confident wearing. You go try the outfit on in the dressing room, look at yourself from every angle, and then you make it up in your mind that you're going to buy it. And then you buy that thing, and then you make a decision that you're going to wear it out somewhere, whether it's just to Walmart or you're going out for dinner or you're going out with friends, and you just stand in that decision. And it's literally practicing feeling uncomfortable in something that you truly want to do. It's just like changing your hair up or wearing makeup for the first time or whatever it is. When it comes to like your appearance, you have to practice showing up in how you want to be seen and feel comfortable with feeling uncomfortable in the moment, and taking deep breaths and also quieting that negative self-talk in your mind is major, because that little voice is going to be like nagging at you and telling you all kind of stuff. And trust me, I know that voice very, very well. But the more you practice quieting that voice and doing the opposite of what it's suggesting, that voice gets so quiet to the point where it's not even there anymore. So don't give up hope, ladies. Like, practice. That's the one thing that you cannot get around. If you're not practicing showing up and being confident in the decisions that you're going to make about yourself, then you're never going to get there. You can't get there by thinking your way into it. You have to put in physical, tangible practice.
See, I absolutely love that. What you like, it just the practice, everything that you just said. It's like, for me, I know, like, when I was younger, I wanted to be a model, right? And I wanted to be a model, I wanted to be in front of the camera, all those things. But I think life happened and you just start thinking less and less of yourself. Like, oh, I can't do that. I don't look like them. I can't dress like them. I don't think so. You just start like pulling away from that dream. So that's one of those things that last year I did my very first boudoir shoot, very first. Like, and I was just like you. I looked at those pictures. I was like, damn, I look good. But I didn't post them. I just kept them to myself. And I was like, I'm not posting these because people are going to look at me funny. They're going to judge me. And I didn't post them. And I swear, I think I still have them in my folder, never posted, just showed a couple friends, right? So when you said, like, why not share that art? You're right. Like, that was beautiful art. The photographer did a great job. I did a great job, but it was something that I've never done. And I loved when you said that in the Washington Post, and you were talking about how you went to that photo shoot and you covered up but it was such a classy picture. And I think that's what we forget, is like, it can be classy. It doesn't have to be crazy and, raunchy and everything. It is, us just being ourselves and loving ourselves. I love that. And I'm definitely going to start doing more. My goal is, once, I'm starting to get into bad little stuff, seeing how it look, doing little stuff like that. But I do want to get back. I want to get into modeling. I want to get into boudoir. I think that it is empowering. I think that it is, even if I am fully clothed, it's about self and loving on yourself and seeing yourself in different outfits and things like that. And I think that it's time for me to do that. Look, just like I said, I'm older now. Forget what they think. I don't even care no more what they think.
You're grown.
I'm over it.
And I encourage you to put those pictures out there.
Oh my God, I'm gonna try. I know when my friends listen to it, they're gonna be like, "What pictures? What, Theo? What pictures?" So I'm definitely going.
Even if you don't put it out there, like on social media or on the internet where it impacts your digital footprint, send it to the people who you love. Like send it to your core friend group. And that's the step. And then those can be also pictures that you would send to your lovers, right?
Mhm.
And that's the next step. And then maybe eventually you would feel comfortable with putting it up on a modeling site like Model Mayhem, where you can get more work and you can get more jobs. I was cast for America's Next Top Model from Model Mayhem. So like, you know,
I never even heard of Model Mayhem. See, I'm new to the game now. You teaching me stuff. See, big sister, you are teaching me things right now. I don't even know what that is.
Model Mayhem is basically like a portfolio site for models.
Okay.
And it's great. It's changed over the years to be even better, but you can connect with photographers and artists in your area that will be looking for models, and even internationally. So it's a great site. Like I've gotten a lot of work, a lot of paid work, a lot of work that's like built my portfolio over the years. And I'll never forget, I actually got into figure modeling with colleges because of Model Mayhem, because an artist there asked me if I had ever modeled for schools. And I was like, no, I haven't. And then he just gave me the game. And from there, I just took what he gave me. And then I started modeling at schools around Chicago and like private art groups. And I was like, whoa. So I always tell people like the game now, the modeling game now is so different than what it used to be back then, where now anybody and everybody who has a desire to be a model, no matter what your size is, no matter your height or complexion, no matter what your hair looks like, no matter if you're tatted up or whatever, you can be a model. Like, I think we have Instagram to thank for that. Because with Instagram being the pictorial that it started out as a pictorial, but with Instagram being picture focused, and then the selfies coming into the game, like it just changed everything. And so if that is a desire of your heart, I always say, this is what I learned from A Course in Miracles. If it's a desire of your heart, that's how God wants to express itself through you. So if you want to model, that means that the source that created you is like, this is how I want to express myself through you. Go and show up and be beautiful and create art and put it out in the world to inspire. And I think it's beautiful too, because with you being a lesbian, there's this imagery of lesbians that I think people have that is so misleading. It pisses me off because I'm like, why do you think every lesbian looks like this or acts like this? And so, not that you would be a poster child or anything, but you would be a representation of what being this way looks like, you know? And there are probably women who look like you, who speak like you, and who show up like you do energetically, that maybe they're still hiding who they are. And if they see you and they also see your sexuality being attached to that, right? They'll be like, wow, what? So I can act like this and also be open and out, and this person represents that. Like, you just don't know how your image will impact people. You are literally holding back something that is going to impact someone else and help them to move to the next level in their life. So just think about that. Like, if that is a desire in your heart, there's someone out there who needs what you have.
I did look at your page. I was reading your blog, and I was looking at your LGBTQ or LGBTQ love, masturbation, and art of self-love that you have went through. And I really enjoyed that article because you talked about how you need self-awareness, you're guaranteed orgasms, and you avoid STIs while doing this by loving on yourself. And I think that the conversation about masturbation is still taboo. I don't know why. It's like, so I had a panel. I had a shut up, eat a cookie event. I do it yearly. I do these yearly events where it's like all these women come together. Would love to invite you to our event. Maybe one day you won't be busy, you come to our event. But we have a 4-person panel. We have a fashion show. We have models. It's a super intimate event. Our youngest person is 16, oldest person is 65. And we just talk about sex and loving ourselves, right? It's a beautiful thing. It's beautiful. So when you talked about like the masturbation part, I was like, yes, that's what I've been saying. Is that it's a self-love, it's a part of self-love, is that masturbation part. Do you think knowing your body and your self-pleasure should be explored before getting into a relationship with a partner, right? And what does that look like? What does that even look like to explore yourself?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Person should explore themselves and their bodies before they get with a partner, because without that, there is this heavy expectation for your partner to get it right and for your partner to know everything about you and to know what turns you on. But your partner's not a mind reader, and your partner's only going to know as much as you expose to them. And so if you, the individual, if you don't know what feels good on your body, what interactions feel good to you, what things you don't want to experience, then you're not going to be able to communicate that to a partner. And so it even goes beyond just like masturbation. Exploring yourself also goes into like exploring your mind, exploring your desires. So because, you know, some people believe that they can only experience something with another person, but I always say you are your partner first. Why are you neglecting yourself and the partnership you have with yourself and life? So how can you show up in a relationship with another person if you're not even showing up to life? How can you show up and experience pleasure when your five senses aren't even completely online? And I'm gonna say the five senses that we categorize and that we speak about, because believe there's more than five senses. But sensuality is a major thing. And sensuality is how we experience the world through our five senses. And for those of us that have experienced trauma, and we all have in some way in varying degrees, that trauma impacts our senses and our ability to really feel into life deep. And so if you're not even aware that the traumas you've experienced in your life have impacted your senses, then you're just walking around thinking that the way you're living life is just it. And some people, they get to that point where they feel unhappy with how they're experiencing life because they feel like something is missing. But then they make the mistake of believing that it is another person who's going to bring it to them, or it's another person that has to be responsible for their happiness. And so by exploring self first, and exploring self doesn't mean that you won't have a relationship with someone who can help you do that, like a coach or a mentor or a therapist, because those things are really important. But it's important to do that work before getting into a relationship, so that way you show up as a full being, not the representative that you want a person to see. Because that's very confusing to people in relationship, and people often feel burnt and they can feel like their hearts have been broken when the representative wears off, and then the real person shows up, and the real person is very much so confused and traumatized and unaware of how to move forward. So self-pleasure and masturbation is really important, specifically sexually, because knowing your body parts, knowing how they work.
The
There,
basics.
a vulva owning person, we get erections too. Engorgement happens for us as well. And if you're not aware of that, then you're not going to understand when it comes to like penetrative sex, for instance, when your body's actually prepared to be entered into, and also I think a lot of times, especially for those who are like heteronormative, sex in general is seen as penis centric, penetrative centric, and it presents sex in a way that looks very linear, and people don't understand it. It's on a spectrum. And so there's so much more that can be experienced outside of being penetrated by a partner, whether it's by, a person with a penis that was born with it or a penis that was bought. It's more than that. And so being able to go through that self-exploration in masturbation, but then also in just the full spectrum of what could be defined as sex and how it applies to your person, your personal body. So important. And that's what empowerment is about. Empowerment is a person being aware of their sexual autonomy and being aware of their right to choose and to shift in and out of whatever sexual experience they desire. And education is at the top of all those things. If you feel scared, you don't know how to explore, you don't know even where to start, hire a coach, hire somebody who can guide you through the way, through the path. There's plenty of programs out there that sexperts have put together that can take you through that time. And like the month of May is masturbation month. It's the perfect time to explore self-pleasure. So, you know, self-pleasure in the form of masturbation, but then also self-pleasure and just showing up to life and being unapologetic about enjoying the things that make you feel lit up. So
yes, all of the above. Yes, I believe masturbation is number one, especially with this journey that I'm going through with self-love. I tell people like that's like the best. It brings me to myself. You know what I mean? It lets me know I'm all right. The stress relief, all of that is amazing, and you learn so much about your body, about what you like and what you don't like through that. So that you can actually be, I was reading that LGBTQ article, you can be the teacher and not the student. So sometimes you have to be that. I think a lot of people don't like me. I know when I get into relationships, like, oh my God, I gotta teach another person how to satisfy me. Like, this is annoying. I might as well just do it myself. So
no, it really does get to be fun because you get to take a person on a journey of your body and bring them into your world. And that's the thing about being partnered up is like, there is going to be a learning curve and your partner is not a mind reader. And they're coming into the experience with you with a different set of awareness, a different set of expectations that may or may not be expressed. And that's why communication is huge. And masturbation, I think if we reframe it from like seeing it as just sex with self and reframing it to a meditation with self, a time to really connect with your body and your creative energy in a way that is going to move things. And I think that some people might approach the act of self-pleasure a lot easier. Because for a person that doesn't feel confident in their sexual skill, if they look at masturbation as sex with self, they're going to be like, well, I'm not good at this.
yeah.
Get somebody else to do it. And it's like, you have to be the one to do it.
Like, I don't want to do that. That was a conversation that came up in my last event. Was one of the women, I had, 4 people on the panel. You had like somebody who learned how to tie somebody up. So they were definitely in the life, they're a rigger. You had someone who was a sex coach, somebody who was a personal coach. And then you had this woman there who had never masturbated ever. Wow. She was never masturbated. She never done any self-pleasure. She was totally against it. And you had these 4 women up there. And as soon as she said that, all the women were like, what? Like, yeah. I respect everything you're saying, but whoa, that's a lot. Do we need to get you a vibrator? Let's buy her. Let's all pitch in. Like, I guess let's all pitch in.
Starting with fingers, because I think for some people, the idea of playing with toys just seems taboo because they're like, I would rather have a real person. I would rather have, just real connection. I don't want to connect with the machine. All of us are first level digisexuals in some capacity because we use technology, whether it's, pulling up something on our phone to watch it and be stimulated or, using a toy. We're interacting with technology in sex. And so I think, and this is what I'm going to be going on a campaign for Masturbation Month to really encourage women to get back to using their fingers because like the sex toy industry, $1 billion industry, and we love our sex toys. Please don't get me wrong. But there is something very transformative around using your fingers and the energy that you get to transfer from your fingers to your genitals with conscious thought and conscious breathing. It's tantric. And so I want to encourage more women to be more tantric in their self-pleasure practice. And for those who aren't yet ready to like take that step and even using a toy as simple as like a bullet, right? because the vibration may be too much for them. It's like, well, let's just start with the gentle touch of your own fingers. Because now you can't say that you're getting this pleasure from something else. This is all you doing it to yourself. And so they have to give themselves permission to even enjoy that. And it's going to bring up a lot, because I'm pretty sure that woman who was completely against masturbation had some kind of trauma in her life where she was shamed from doing that, whether it was religious shame or partner shame or parental shame or something that she saw or picked up along her journey that made her feel like she cannot access pleasure with her own body in the privacy of her own home as an adult. Like that is I want to cry for her.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot, and it's not a shaming thing. You know what I mean? Like it's just seriously, this is something that you get to give yourself. Like when you're laying in bed and you wake up in the morning, you get to touch yourself. And the fact that you don't think that you have, the fact that she doesn't think that she has access to do that is very telling. And so I always say though, willingness is at the core of any change. If she doesn't have any willingness whatsoever to even shift out of that mindset, then it's like, hey, God bless you. Go with God.
Yeah.
You know,
You
like,
can't take so, and then another woman that I had met, she was like, and I hope that you touch on this. You said you were going to talk about it in May. Hope you touch on this, is this idea of wearing a glove while masturbating. So a friend introduced me to this idea. She was talking, this is something that I've never tried, but it was something when I started researching, I realized a lot of women did this, is this whole wearing a glove, having, and touching yourself. I don't know where this come from. I don't know that I haven't researched it too much, but it was like all these women just exploded. They were like, yeah, that's the way. That's what you do. That's the way. And I'm like, never heard of that before, but okay, let me get into it. So I have never heard of that.
wearing a glove is like a form of it's a barrier. So it'd be no different than like using a condom on a penis, right? Or using a condom on a dildo. And so wearing a glove is an option because some people have a texture issue where they don't want to feel their own secretions. They don't want to feel the things that are, coming out of their body. And so they want to have that intimate touch. They just don't want to be intimate with their own fluids. And so they'll wear a glove, which is valid. It's completely valid. And two, if you got long nails or your nails aren't clean, especially if you want to do some internal play, having a glove on prevents, dirt from transferring from the nails into the vagina, which could eventually throw off the delicacy of the vaginal ecosystem. And so it's definitely an option. But when women think that it's the only way to do it, I'm like, no, that's not the only way. It's the way that you prefer, and that's okay. And how about one day you try it without the glove?
Yeah. I would say, there's so many different ways. So I have two more questions for you, and then we're going to get out of here. But the next question that I always think about is, I'm going to get into this sexual empowerment, and I'm going to be talking to these women, and, I'm going to go out, I'm going to take these pictures of, me doing boudoir and everything. But how am I going to date? How are people going to look at me when I put myself out, when I'm telling people about this stuff? Are they going to look at me just as a sexual object and be like, she's a freak, So I wanted to ask from the source of, how is it dating being you? with all of, everybody knows who you are. Oh, she know how to ride. She know how to do this. How is that even dating?
Interesting, because everybody doesn't know who I am or what I do. And so because I got so many jobs, I can omit certain aspects of my job. I can just say I'm a fitness trainer, which I am. Also often say I'm a writer, producer, director, which I am. And then when I feel comfortable enough with that person, I'll present that, I am an intimacy coach, I'm a sex coach. And most people don't even know what that is. They really and this is why I avoid giving out my social media, because I don't want them going to social media and looking through all the stuff that I say and do, and then getting this idea that sex is going to be on the table for them right away. It's not. But what people get a sense of first and foremost is oh, wow, this woman is stunning, And so I think some people get kind of intimidated by just my appearance. You know, again, I'm 5'10" and a half.
Mhm.
If I'm wearing heels, I'm like 6'2".
And I'm a little 5'3".
Oh.
I'm a midget. When every single time that I saw your images, I'm like, you would be like, I'm tall. I'm like, oh, I would be like a little kid. She would tap me on my forehead.
But look, well, like honestly, most of my best friends are like 5'6" and under. So, you know,
Little,
I'm
little
I'm a
person.
tall one. Me and my
I
sister.
always have to wear heels around you. I'll be like, I'm wearing, I don't even wear heels. I'm an Adidas queen. Okay. I do wear my Adidas high tops. Everybody know I had on a ball gown to one of my events with my Adidas high tops on it. So I'm always short. Okay. I can't even
Yeah.
wear the heels. I will fall on my face. I can't. I try. It's not. And I know when my friend listens to it, she's gonna be like, but we're gonna get you there, girl. Because she keep on buying me heels. I'm like, I don't know where I'm wearing those, but she keeps trying.
Start with the funky heels. But yeah, like dating is really interesting because I'm the kind of person where I like to develop relationship. So I don't just want to like jump straight into something. Like I'm also poly, so some of the relationships I've had them for damn near 2 decades, and other relationships are new. But what I find is that when I know someone for a year or longer, and then we get into like the sexual aspect of our relationship, is just so much better than just like trying to jump in right away. And so I'm very guarded. I can't lie. I am guarded around dating, primarily because, well, I was married at one point and the marriage ended, and I'm in a really good space now as far as like the healing from that. And as I've gone like back out into the world to navigate the dating scene, it's just so different. And so I'm guarded because in my mind, I'm like, well, is a person here to get to know me? Or are they here because of what they perceive that I could do for them? Whether that be something that's sexual or, you know, the proximity to me, um, like being with me, and then the proximity that I have to like the elite, or the proximity that I have to like certain industries. So that's always like a question in the back of my mind. So I lead with discernment. And um before I moved down to Atlanta, which I just moved down here last week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. My sex life and my dating life was just kind of like flatline, almost like with a little bump every now and then. Um, but now it's like super active because I have relationships again that I've developed over years, like 7 to 10 years. And so I'm just like in the space of developing those relationships because these are people that I trust. But new folks, I'm always like, kind of like, I got my eye on you. And so I personally am working on just like being more vulnerable and being okay with the fact that some people are going to feel intimidated. I'm not intimidating. People feel intimidated by my presence, by my energy, by my appearance, and by the work that I do. And again, the average person really does not understand the full scope of what it is that I do. So like, I don't care about their assumptions because their assumptions are never accurate about what it is that I do as a coach. You know, I'm not a porn star, even though I have an OnlyFans, but my job is not like, that's not my job. My job is to literally coach people from feeling inadequate into feeling empowered. And they don't always understand what that looks like. And so when I find people that want to get to know me, and we're not talking a bunch about what I do in my work, then I'm like, okay, we can do this. And so it is required for us, like those of us that do this work, to have boundaries and to be able to communicate those boundaries and to know when to like leave work as work and to be personable with people, because sometimes people will think that they can just work with you for free since they're dating you. It's like, don't do that now. That's not how it works. Don't try to like piggyback your way into getting some advice from me because we have an intimate relationship. That's so
That's
annoying.
my biggest fear. So my biggest fear, like everyone tells me, they're like, you have so much potential. You could do this. You could do this. And I've spoken to celebrities. I've done interviews. I've done that. You have so much potential. My biggest fear is leaving people behind, is that part, is that shift, is whenever I get to that point, how am I going to build these authentic relationships? Because people are going to know me here. I know the work that it needs to take to get to where I want to be, right? But I'm going to lose friendships. I'm going to lose people that I've known for a long time because they're going to think like that. Oh, what can I get from her? Or how can I connect to her truly? And you have those leeches, and I don't want. How am I going to develop those friendships when I get, when I get bigger?
Naturally, I'm telling you.
I'm definitely, that's what I'm like, the biggest fear of mine. My biggest fear is that even my podcast getting big, right? And then how am I going to know who my friends are? How am I going to know who my people, my village really is?
Trust yourself. Because, and I'll say this, like, it's so interesting that you say that, because I've had that similar fear around knowing, like, it gets to a point where you realize the world is listening and the world is watching. So everything that you do, like, it's definitely having an impact. And going to the next level means more visibility. It means more impact, and it's a greater responsibility. And so if you're holding on to that fear, then what's going to happen is you're going to see things manifest into your reality that's going to create setbacks. It's going to look like procrastination. It's going to just look like all kind of bullshit that's like coming up against you. But really, it's just that fear manifesting to bring about this thing that you're holding on as truth, which is the fear of just being big. And you have to remember that if you're meant to be up here, then everything that you want and you're asking for is already waiting for you up here. It's a different realm of people. It's a different set of responsibilities. And you as a person, you will have to evolve to even operate on this level. So sometimes it looks like relationships transitioning, not necessarily completely ending, but the relationship just isn't as prominent in your life, right? So once you start growing, if people around you are not growing too, then they're just going to be back there. And if you choose to turn back and go back and like interact with those people, then you already know what that's going to be. But if your progression is upward mobility, then just know when you get there, there are going to be people who are going to be waiting to embrace and accept you. Trust me, I'm speaking from personal experience. And the way that you trust that you find your tribe is you lean into your own intuition and you be truthful about who you are in this moment in time, because who you are right now is not going to be the same person a year from now. And so you continuously do these assessments and these inner reflections on yourself about where you are and who you are. And then you get to state the kind of people that you want in your life to show up for you. And when you speak that, and you get excited about that, and you know that there are people out there who match that vibration, then that's going to come to you. So you don't have to fear finding that. It's literally going to draw to you. We are magnetic beings. We attract. We don't have to make anything happen. And when we try to make things happen, that's straight egoic mind. So come out of the ego mind and come into heart-based connection with life. And just know that everything that you're asking for is already waiting on you to match the vibration of it. And you're going to live such a full, happy, healthy life with people who celebrate you, with people who want nothing but the best for you, exactly as you are, showing up in the work that you do. And I have to say, like, I have my childhood friends, like friends that I've literally I've had since 3rd and 5th grade. And we're still like this. So I'll be like loyal to the soil. And then I have my adult friends that I've met in college, and we're like this. And then friends that I've met since I started this work, and we're like this. And I categorize all of those people. You have to categorize and allocate, because what I do with my friends in the work, I don't do with my friends from childhood. What I do with my adult friends that I met in college, I might not necessarily do with my friends in work. And I'm in all kinds of work. I'm in spiritual work. the plant medicine work, I'm in sexual healing work. And so even in the work, I have categories of folks.
Mhm.
And sometimes they overlap, but it's so different with each person. And I love it because my life is filled with adventure. My life is filled with fun, but most importantly, my life is filled with love. So if you just continue to be led by love, which is the thing that created you, you can't make any mistakes. So don't feel fear around going higher in your career, because like I said, if you are holding back because of fear, then you are preventing someone else's progression and growth. Because there is somebody who's waiting for you to show up. And the longer you sit there in fear, paralyzed, not making a movement, then you're preventing their progress. So, live long and
That's
prosper.
powerful. That's very powerful. That's very powerful. I like how you put that. You're the way that you communicate things is like, dag, right? Oh, ouch. You're right. That's so right. And I agree. But that's like that's like that thing that's just like stopping me from being my greatest self, right? That piece is that fear of who's coming with me. Because like I said, I don't have my mom, I don't have my family. I rock by myself. And I had two friends. You know what I mean?
No one is coming with you.
Mm.
I'm telling you that. 12 years in the game, no one is coming with you. This is a journey that you're taking by yourself. And those in your life who love you, they are spectators, but they are not in it with you. It's literally you by yourself. And then you choose the players who get to interact with you in that. But literally, this is a solo game. It really is. And when I say a solo game, I mean your purpose and your journey and how you're approaching the work. It's all you. No one is coming with you. And so you have to feel okay with doing it alone. And yes, you're going to have help. Yes, you're going to collaborate. Yes, yes, yes to all those things. But no one's doing it with you. And the people who love you, they're always going to be there. Once you step outside of your work bubble, those people who love you, they're going to be there to support you. They're going to be cheering you on and all of that good stuff. But do not fear people not understanding you or not understanding what you're doing, because they won't. The average person does not. And so your tribe will come and the people who love you will be there. And those who leave your life, they were never yours, quote unquote, yours to begin with, because you can never truly lose something that is for you. And so if those people leave, God bless you. Thank you for the time that we experienced in life. Get excited, because there's something else and someone else coming to replace that thing that matches your vibration right now. So the only thing you got to focus on is just continuing to match the vibration of the thing that you say that you want. And again, the fear may be there, but faith should trump that. The faith that keeps you motivated to just keep working and moving forward, despite the voices of fear that are in your mind. Trust me, speaking from personal experience, I'm not 12 years in this work and not and removed from feeling what you feel right now, But you can just look at me and the success that I have and just see what's possible when you just move in faith through the feelings of fear. Everything is possible. There is nothing that's going to be off limits to you once you make up your mind that this is what you're going to do. And you're going to be so happy. You'll be like, oh my God, I'm really doing it. And
I see it. I see it. I see it there, right? It's like, I'm telling you, this is the first year that, I have done the work through my trauma. I'm totally different than what I was before. When I first got out of the military, I wouldn't leave my house. I didn't do anything. Now, a couple years out, and I'm a whole different person. And now I'm like, wait, I see my greatness. I see what I could accomplish. I see that there. And I just want to do that. I want to be there. That's why I'm telling you, that's why I started my podcast, because I believe that we need a community. I needed even if they weren't physically with me and they weren't surrounding me, I need a community of women that were like, we did it. Come on, where you at? Like, we were here, we've worked through it. Then you need to come and do your great work too. And you need to be there. And I absolutely love your energy, Tyomi. I just think that you are like so dope. I think that your message, I think that who you are, I think that you definitely are an inspiration to so many women, and so many women need to know who you are if they do not know already. Because the message that you put out there, it to me, I wanted to make sure that this podcast wasn't just about your workouts and this, it was really about who you are and the message that you want to put out to women. And the last part that I kind of wanted to say is like, is there any resources that you would put out? I know you have your website and you have YouTube and you have all of these things. I want you to plug those in now and kind of tell people who you are, where they can find you when they're away from this podcast.
Absolutely. So please follow me on Instagram at Real Glamazon Tyomi. Follow me on Twitter at Glamazon Tyomi. Follow my blog, Glamorerotica101.com, and its YouTube channel under the same name, Glamorerotica101, and my evergreen course site, thepleasureacademy.com. And if you want to work out with me, you want to move through things in your life and improve your intimate movement, come and join the Cowgirl Tribe. I train assassins. And even if you're not a dick rider, this is a workout that will shift things in your life, because we do a lot of pelvic work. So if you're a vulva owner and you want to move through things in your life, come and join the tribe. Members.thecowgirlworkout.com. And I promise you, if you forget any of that, you could just put Tyomi Morgan in Google. My SEO is strong. My digital footprint is heavy. You will find all of those resources, and you will find a bunch of other platforms where I have appeared. Some stuff is not safe for work, so make sure you're not doing, you're browsing on your work computer, not trying to get in trouble with you. And yeah, just tap in with me. Like Takia said, there's a greater message outside of the sexiness, outside of the sex appeal, outside of the sex stuff. It's all about love for me at the end of the day. I always say I'm doing the Lord's work. God sent me here to be a transformative force in the lives of anyone who falls upon my voice. And so I'm in this work until I transition out of this body into another lifetime. So come and tap in with me while I am here. And let's live our best lives together, y'all.